What's up, everyone? My name is Jet. Welcome back to episode of MDK Racing Victory Style. We got a lot to talk about following the penultimate race of the 2023 NASCAR Cup Series season at Watkins Glen. Absolute dominating fashion by Hendrick Motorsports, and specifically William Byron. He'll go on to win for the 5th time this season, most of all drivers. His 9th career Cup Series win, leading 66 of the 90 laps, and will take home the first road course win of his career. Now, this is big on many levels, considering the fact that when you look at William Byron and the 24 team, this is the 3rd year in a row where they have shown great speed at the beginning of the year, in the spring, early summer, but then right when it counts, they fall off. They kind of were showing a similar trait this year, but lately they've been starting to pick up the pace, and this win at Watkins Glen is going to give them some serious momentum entering the playoffs. Now, if there's one thing that you cannot do in the playoffs, and that is make mistakes, and Michael McDowell did just that. He had a bad day, but a fast car. He took the lead very early on. Lap 4 of the race, he was able to get around Denny Hamlin in a good battle and drove away from the rest of the field and would end up winning stage 1. However, it was after that when things went off the rails. Coming onto pit road for the first round of green flag pit stops, he goes through too many pit stalls, ends up getting a penalty. Then in stage 3, for the next time around under green flag conditions, his pit crew makes a mistake. Over the wall too soon, back to the rear again. And then with 13 laps to go, he had an internal issue, either a motor issue, electrical issue, but everything just shut off in the car. They took it behind the wall, and Michael McDowell ended up finishing in dead last. And that is something you just cannot do in the playoffs, is shoot yourselves in the foot. And the 34 team, even though they had a fast car, potentially a race-winning car, even though 13 laps to go, everything went off the rails when they had an internal issue with the car. But before that, they were still shooting themselves in the foot, getting sent to the rear when they could have been out in clean air, not having a problem or a worry in the world at that time. That's just something you cannot do in the playoffs, is make mistakes. Daniel Suarez was another driver that made a mistake very early in the race. He spun in the bus stop, was running in the 10th position when that occurred, and also just had a bad day, didn't have anything go his way. That was the only time I think the TV ever actually really focused in on Suarez, because after that he was virtually non-existent for the entirety of the race. Now, how did William Byron get the lead? Well, this happened around the time when Michael McDowell went through too many pit stalls, because originally it was going to be McDowell and Hamlin 1-2, but Byron, or I should say Rudy Fugle, had Byron stay out 1 lap longer, then come onto pit road. And because of that, Byron was actually able to leapfrog both Hamlin and McDowell, and when McDowell got his penalty, Byron would inherit the lead away from Hamlin. Byron would be the new race leader, and he would go on to win stage 2 and end up winning the race. Then finally, the shocking part, the part that made everyone raise their eyebrows, took place with around 35 laps to go. Now, this is when strategy was getting real interesting. Saw some drivers trying to make it to a certain lap time. Some drivers stayed out to get those stage points. Others prepared for the finish of the race. Well, one of the drivers that was playing a bit of the long game was Chase Elliott. They were trying to stretch it to a certain lap time, and then they would pit around 32, 31 to go to set up for the finish of the race. Well, Alan Gustafson said, hey, you have reserve fuel. Remember, with the ICU, you have a bit of reserved fuel at your disposal in case you run out. Alan Gustafson told him you have 3 laps of reserve fuel. According to Steve Letarte, 3 laps at Watkins Glen is around 1.7 gallons. Keep in mind, the reserve fuel could maybe get you 3 laps at Charlotte. Charlotte! Not Watkins Glen. Charlotte, a 1.5 mile track, compared to Watkins Glen, a 2.5 mile track. You cannot compare the two. Guess what happened? Chase Elliott runs out of fuel, stops at the backstretch chicane to bring out the caution. At the same time, Kyle Larson was also caught speeding on pit road, so that was a double whammy for Hendrick Motorsports. But I gotta say, for Alan, what were you thinking? Listen, I know I would be horrible as a crew chief, but even I know that there's no way you could have that amount of reserve fuel in your system for Watkins Glen. Again, you can make it a little bit at Martinsville, Charlotte, those types of tracks. But not Watkins Glen, one of the longest tracks in the schedule. How do you make that mistake? Now, for longtime Chase Elliott fans, they would know that this is the first time Alan Gustafson made a very stupid call. I believe it was a 2020 Coke 600 where a caution came out with Alex Bowman, I think set up a green-white checker. Chase Elliott was in first place, and then Gustafson hadn't come on a pit road. Elliott ended up losing the race as he was the only one that pitted. So this isn't the first time Gustafson has made a very stupid call, but that stuff is just unexcusable. How do you make a simple, easy mistake like that? How do you have your guy run out of fuel like that? And I'm pretty sure he was the only one that ran out of fuel, was Chase Elliott. So it wasn't like everybody else was having issues. They were the only ones, which made it even more hilarious, but at the same time more stupid. Chase went from a guy or a driver that was going to have a solid finish, end up finishing 32nd as a result of that mistake. Here's a look at the rest of the unofficial results. So like I said, William Byron wins. Second is Denny Hamlin, Christopher Bell in third place, AJ Allmendinger fourth, and Ty Gibbs in fifth. Another solid run for Ty Gibbs. Martin Truex Jr. sixth, Chris Buescher, Tyler Reddick, Ryan Blaney, and Joey Logano, the top 10. How about Todd Gillen? Great run for that 3018. Bubba Wallace doing exactly what he needed to do. He earned stage points, had a solid finish, did not get into any trouble, picked up some ground as you head into the final race at Daytona. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Kyle Busch, and Brad Keselowski, the top 15. Austin Cindric, Ryan Preece, Ross Chastain, Mike Rockenfeller, and Corey LaJoie, the top 20. Kevin Harvick, Daniel Suarez, tough break for him, finishes in 22nd. Bowman, 23rd. I believe he also had an issue on pit road. Justin Haley, Andy Lally, Kyle Larson, Josh Bilicki, Cole Custer, Eric Jones, and Eric Almirola. Austin Dillon and Kyle Larson had a bit of an issue coming to the finish of the race. Dillon bumped Larson out of the way. Larson then comes back and takes him and Austin Dillon out. They both had a confrontation a little bit on pit road after the race. Chase Elliott, like I said, comes home 32nd. Harrison Burton, 33rd after he spun early in the race. Ty Dillon, Chase Briscoe, and Michael McDowell with the electrical issue comes home in dead last. And now here's a look at the playoff grid. 15 spots locked in, 1 spot to go, 1 race to go. And that is, of course, Daytona for the NASCAR Cup Series. Bubba Wallace holds the final transfer spot, 32 points above the cut line ahead of Ty Gibbs. Daniel Suarez minus 43. Brad Keselowski and Kevin Harvick with no new winner. That means they are locked in. But AJ Allmendinger on back. Allmendinger, Bowman, including Chase Elliott, the only way they can make the playoffs is if they win. They are too far behind to make it in on points. If they want to have the shot at the playoffs, they can only make it based on a win. Bubba Wallace, Ty Gibbs, and Daniel Suarez are the only 3 drivers that can make it on points. So yeah, my thoughts on this race. Wasn't that good. Sorry. Strategy, there was some strategy. There was some interesting strategy. I'm not going to deny that. But compare that to the Indy road course last week. Indy had great strategy, but also some good, dang good battles. Watkins Glen didn't have much of that. It had some moments. There were some moments, but especially it happened on restarts. We saw a lot of good battles, but very short-lived. After about a couple laps, everyone got single file and spread out. Strategy was good, but again, it didn't make up for the lack of battles, at least not as much as I thought. The strategy wasn't that good to make up for the lack of battles. Only one time we saw a pass for the lead, and that was on lap 4 with Michael McDowell getting by Denny Hamlin. Yeah, I mean, we knew going into this race it was going to be all about track position, but kind of wished Watkins Glen delivered a bit more. But I'm not surprised because, again, we expected something like this, that track position was going to be extremely key. And once again, another example of why NASCAR needs to get rid of that damn diffuser, whatever they got down there beneath the car. They need to get rid of that because it's not helping. We got to figure it out with the intermediates, but now we got to figure out how to deal with these short tracks and the road courses because they are suffering. Not as much, Indy didn't suffer, but Watkins Glen definitely suffered this weekend. So I was kind of disappointed with that. Again, we already discussed Michael McDowell. I still can't believe who thought it was a good idea. Keep him out 3 laps of extra fuel. That makes no sense at Watkins Glen. That's 1.7 gallons. Reserve fuel don't have that much, man. How does... Oh my... I actually feel bad for Chase. I mean, look at the season that they've had. 2 races in, breaks leg. Snowboarding injury, out. Comes back, I think 2 or 3 races later, bam, gets suspended for wrecking Hamlin. Then starts to build some momentum, crashes at Michigan. Great run this last weekend in Indy, and runs out of fuel. And finishes 32nd. And now he goes into Daytona in a must-win situation. He's too far back to make it in on points. He has to win if he wants to be part of the playoffs. Same thing with Alex Bowman. I mean, this is one of the oddest seasons in Hendrick history. I mean, it's not a surprise that the 24 is up front, but look at the driver. It's William Byron. I mean, this is a career year. 5 wins. The most stage points out of anybody. I mean, I think he also has the most playoff points out of anybody. I mean, incredible year. And I think it's very vital that they're getting good now, because the issue, like I said, with the 24 team was always that they were great at the beginning and then fall off in the end. Now they're picking up right when the playoffs are about to start. That could be deadly for the field. Yeah, we discussed Byron. The next gen car, nothing really else much to explain there. I mean, I think I kind of already explained my points about it, on how we need to get rid of the diffuser. Stage cautions are not the issue. NASCAR, get rid of stage cautions for the entirety of the 2024 schedule. All tracks, not just road courses, because stage cautions are so not necessary. I love races that have a natural flow to things, and getting rid of the stage cautions this race and last weekend's race. Even though Indy was way more exciting, Watkins Glen wasn't that exciting. It was so nice to see that natural flow. And again, it made the races go by so quick. I think we started at 3. We ended before either at 6 or maybe just past 6. I mean, the race got by so quickly, and I'm talking about the race broadcast, and I'm not even talking about the race itself, but just the race broadcast felt like it went by so quickly. Again, let's get rid of stage cautions entirely, because they help the race so much. Yeah, I'm very interested to see what Daytona brings us next weekend, because Bubba, he did everything he needed to do. He has been the hardest working driver the last couple weeks, because you look at what he's done over the summer to build some momentum, to get that buffer between him and the cut line. Last weekend did everything right, but Suarez and McDowell just had incredible cars. And then this week, he ain't good at Watkins Glen, and yet he got stage points and finished 12th place. A very, very good day for that 23 team. And now he's going to go to Daytona with a buffer. Nothing to be safe about, but a buffer. 32 points above the cut line. He knows how to run well at the super speedways. Just as a matter of fact, the only thing that's going to stand in his way is luck going to be on his side, because as long as we don't have a new winner, he can make the playoffs based off of points. You just got to stay in line with Gibbs and Suarez, and that's it. But yeah, I think I explained all of the points I wanted to discuss. Nothing else much to say in this race, because nothing really much happened in this race. McDowell, got to clean up those mistakes. You can't afford that in the playoffs. Hendrick, again, weird. I mean, I don't see the 9 and the 48 making the playoffs. And the 5 car, also the 5, they haven't been themselves. I mean, only they won once or twice, I think, this year. Again, today, Watkins Glen had a shot at a good run and then messed up speeding on pit lane. I mean, I don't know. This is such a weird year that it seems as though only the 24 can show consistent speed. The 5 car, they've been up and down. They've had great runs and then runs where they're like, where are they? They're too inconsistent. The 9 and the 48 they're off the deep end. The 24 is the only one that's showing some type of speed. So very interesting to see how the next 11 races will play out. Let me know in the comment section down below. What are your thoughts on this race? Did you like it? Did you not? Until next time, my name is Jett from MDK. Thank you so much for watching. Congratulations to William Byron, your winner at Watkins Glen.